corporations. These are guys who run internet stores and, graduates from RISD that make jewelry in their basement and sell it online. These are the small businesses that we're talking about. On the flip side of that, there are actually, and this kind of blew me away when I found this out, there are 150 businesses in the state of Rhode Island that in fiscal year 2011 posted a $5 million profit or higher.
Wow. 150.
Which really, I was like, wow, there are that many really big businesses, obviously CVS being among them, Torrey Plastics, Raytheon, there are some pretty heavy hitters spread out around the state. Now that we have Quonset down Quonset Business Park, we have a few more larger businesses there. So when I started to look at the tax numbers from those businesses, I found that even those 49,000 businesses that generated a lot less revenue. I don't have the numbers in front of me right now than the 150, big dogs in the state actually paid more in taxes to the state than those 150 companies that made 5 million or more in profit. Now, you say, well, of course they paid more. They're more spread out. But if you look at it from a profit standpoint, I mean, the majority of these businesses posted losses in fiscal 2011. And yet their tax revenue coming into the state was actually higher than the 150 big dogs.
Does that include all taxes, sales taxes, income taxes?
That is simply income.
Okay,
that is income based on the reports that those companies give to the state.
So between the minimum taxes and whatever minimal income they actually made, right, they're actually...
And that's including those $500 filing fees, because in the state there is that, if you qualify for that $500 filing fee, there is no business income tax. That $500 counts as your income tax to the state at that point. Okay. So you don't have to file any paperwork come tax time until you reach a certain level or until you reclassify your business as a Class C or Class D corporation, I believe. CVS is the big dog here in the state. Okay, so the governor says we want to cut this Jobs Development Act in half. CVS basically plays economic chicken with the state and says, well, if you cut that, then we're going to bug out. Now, what a lot of people don't know behind the scenes is of that $15 million fund, CVS got $14 million of it.
Wow.
So
pretty big slice of the pie right there.
Exactly. So, yeah, of course they're going to be ticked off if they want to cut in half. But this is, again, so indicative and so telling, I think, about our government in Rhode Island. It's like, well, CVS is the big guy, Fortune 12 company. Let's put all our eggs in that basket and hope. Because that's all you do is you hope that they don't go, you know what, this isn't working out for us anymore. We're going to move down the road.
Well, I'm assuming, and this is kind of my setup, this is my T-ball question, I'm assuming that the city of Woonsocket gets a significant part of that, part of the tax revenue from CVS, right?
You would think that.
Right? I mean, literally, having a Walmart-style company, a dominant player, right in your backyard would provide all sorts of tax revenue for the city of Woonsocket to build up and around, wouldn't it?
Well, and they do. The CVS Corporation pays about $2.8 million in taxes to the city.
$2.8 million in taxes to its host city. What's the annual revenue of CVS?
In fiscal 2011, they posted a profit in their shareholder report of $6.3 billion.
Wow.
Okay, well, that sounds fair.
That's a lot of toothpaste and condoms.
Yeah, it really is. Actually, and this surprised me, the majority, I actually spoke to a few folks over at CVS, the majority of the money that the company makes is through the sale of pharmaceuticals.
Right.
So the sundry stuff, the shampoo, the suntan lotion, all that stuff, the sodas, the gum, the condoms, the picture developing, whatever else goes on there is actually a very small part of the revenue that CVS takes in. But so on the heels of this announcement by the governor and, of course, the CVS playing economic chicken with the state, I said, well, what kind of tax breaks is CVS getting from their host city, my city of Woonsocket? And it turns out that millions and millions of dollars are being written off by the city of Woonsocket every year. Anybody can go find this out. You can go to a website called opaldata.net. And they hold the tax rolls from many of the communities here in Rhode Island, Central Falls, Cumberland, Warren, Bristol, Woonsocket, a couple others in there, Lincoln, North Smithfield. And you can look up And you can look up by property, you can look up by address, you can look up by owner, you can look up by last time they made a real estate transaction attached to the property, and find out exactly what the taxes are on any property, personal, vehicle, you name it. So basically what's happening in Woonsocket is, in addition to so CVS is getting tax breaks, and they have some pilots negotiated with the city so that they are, they're paying a good portion of property taxes on a lot of their properties. But the weird part of it is, okay, so where CVS is located is what's known as the Highland Corporate Park in Woonsocket, and it's split between Woonsocket and Cumberland, almost right down the middle.
Right.
So CVS has buildings on one side in Woonsocket and buildings on the other side in Cumberland. Cumberland actually is giving CVS a bit of a tax break on their side as well, but because their rate is so much lower, it's not nearly what the break we give them is on the other side of the park in Woonsocket. So I started looking into, okay, what properties does CVS own? And they own quite a few properties all over the city. And they are exempted in a lot of cases by about 30% on their property taxes, which when the rate is 37.5%,
wow,
you got to do something, right? You got to make the deal somewhere. But more disturbingly, there was about $375,000 annually that's exempted from CVS for office furniture, their computer mainframe, all of their IBM and computer equipment in all of their offices up there at Highland Corporate Park, which is a significant amount of money to a city the size of Woonsocket and a city that's in the fiscal straits right now that Woonsocket is in. So that's $375,000 just in those tax breaks.
What was the budget shortfall last year? The much described budget shortfall.
Right now we're looking at a $4.4 million shortfall, I believe. Mm-hmm. And that was with the kind of secret surplus that just popped up in the school department, which I really hate describing it as a surplus because we have that money because we eliminated teachers, we eliminated janitors, we eliminated support staff.
It's the blood from the stone.
Yeah, exactly. So when I started looking at this $375,000 that we're exempting, that number is almost equal to what CVS is paying on the Cumberland side of the line. So I looked at it and I said, basically Woonsocket taxpayers are subsidizing Cumberland taxpayers because CVS is taking the savings from the Woonsocket side and paying their taxes on the Cumberland side.
Right.
Now, the story gets even weirder because a lot of the properties that CVS operates out of in Woonsocket, including their training facility, a couple of warehouses, and actually one CVS Drive, their main headquarters, is actually owned by another corporation. It's not owned by CVS. It's owned by a company called MFR Properties, LLC. Now, this company also gets significant incentives from the city. Again, a lot of pilots negotiated on a lot of these properties, but I'm here looking at 5, 10, 15 different properties around the city of Woonsocket that, as you can, Pat, can you read that right there? Tax exempt property, 1.975 million, right?
Yeah.
1.9. Now that's for fiscal 2013. This year there has been no pilot negotiated for those particular properties. I don't know if they're waiting for the new administration to come into the city before they negotiate. But the fact that this company, MFR Properties, owns those properties that CVS operates out of, it's one thing if you want to give CVS a tax break because they create jobs. The company MFR Properties does nothing but hold property. That's what they do. They don't create any jobs. And when I started to dig in this even further, this MFR Properties is actually a New York-based company that, as of 2008, was not licensed to do business in the state of Rhode Island, as per the Secretary of State's office.
Nice.
Wow.
So here we are giving tax incentives for the last 5 years to a business that rightfully should not be owning those properties, should not have ownership of those properties. And yet we still are pouring thousands and tens of thousands of dollars in tax breaks to this MFR Properties. Which is, again, to the taxpayers in Woonsocket that are being asked to bear the burden of these tax increases and leveling out the budget. when you're turning around and giving this money away to companies that, I love this phrase too because we've heard a lot in Woonsocket, that have the ability to pay. Okay, because people talk about that. Hey, my property taxes are going up on my house. I'm on a fixed income. I have no ability to pay these taxes.
Right.
I can't go out and get another job. I'm retired. I'm disabled. I'm too old. Whatever the reason may be. I cannot afford to pay these taxes. When we're giving away the house to companies like CVS that post a $6.3 billion profit. Now, if the state takes away $7 million in Jobs Development Act, could CVS justify that to their shareholders? A move to North Carolina? Hell, even a move over the border to Bellingham, Massachusetts. Could very well justify that move for $7 million in tax breaks, depending on how sweet the deal is on the other end. But for $375,000 for computer equipment and chairs and desks and your computer mainframe for the little old city of Woonsocket, is a drop in the bucket to a company like CVS. $375,000 is a fraction of one management bonus.
In the world of taxes, they call the amount de minimis because the number is actually not relevant because it's too far to the right of the decimal point that describes CVS's earnings.
Right.
I mean, essentially, you're talking about a couple of management conferences here.
Right.
It's stunning because when you look at the big picture,
it'd be cash bar at the Christmas party.
They just do it out of spite, too. I mean, companies will just do it out of spite, or a town like, say, Sutton, Mass. will come in and seduce them, and it's not looking too shabby.
Because the ultimate irony is that the way the approach to Highland Drive, the entire industrial park, is that the state essentially created a funnel for people to enter and leave the facility without
ever going through the host communities.
Right.
Yeah, absolutely.
So they've worked very hard, spent a lot of money to minimize any collaborative potential economic impact.
Yeah, with the existence of Route 99, CVS damn well may be in Providence.
Right.
It might as well be because that's what's happening is, do they bring in a lot of pharmaceutical reps and sales reps and all kinds of teams from other companies, manufacturers? Of course they do. Those folks are not staying at the Holiday Inn Express in Woonsocket that's a quarter mile from the CVS campus.
Right.
They're staying at the Biltmore and taking Route 99 into Woonsocket, and when they're done with their meeting, they're driving right back out of the city. We talked about this on a previous show where you have this big company, like what happened when Google set up in Cupertino, right? Bang.
Change the landscape.
Halo effect all the way around. Small businesses, those supporting small businesses. We do not see that with CVS.
If you look at it, one of its principal competitors in the world of retail, you've got Walmart. And anyone who's ever been to Bentonville, Arkansas, understands that Bentonville, Arkansas essentially exists because of Walmart.
It is Walmart.
There is really no other reason. It was a lovely little town until Sam Walton came along. And now you've got an entire infrastructure that exists for traveling sales representatives to parachute into Walmart, do their business, and leave. And as a result, the area has exploded, much like the re-explosion in the Silicon Valley because of Google. Mm-hmm. And yet, let's take it one step further. I mean, what would be interesting to find out is how many employees of the greater Woonsocket area CVS actually live in Woonsocket, and I would postulate, based on personal experiences, purely anecdotal, that there probably aren't a lot. So you've got this major corporation, this multi-billion-dollar worldwide winner, in the heart of one of the economic blight zones of New England, all right, doing little or no good for its host community. I mean, we know they contribute to things locally. We know they stroke the occasional check. But in the big picture, Woonsocket seems to get little or nothing out of this mega corporate presence. So the question is, if they bailed out of Wooney, it doesn't sound like it would make a whole hell of a lot of difference. You might actually be revenue positive if another company came in and took its place.
And actually started paying the taxes.
Because I'm looking here at a property on South Main Street. Hey, listen, let's be fair. CVS is kicking in $196 a year.
Right?
They made more money off of that on last month's prescriptions from me.
Yeah.
Okay, it's astonishing that through all the sturm and drang of this last campaign, that no mention, and when you look at what the type of beating that Brown University takes in Providence, that there is little or no mention of CVS, I don't know, and I'm a capitalist, but at a certain point, when you look at what they cost the local infrastructure, and this is inquiring minds want to know, my question to you would be, and I don't know the answer to this, when you look at the cost of the local infrastructure, are they even revenue positive to the city of Woonsocket?
Well, gee, I mean, how many factors would you have to take in? You'd have to take in how many people they're actually employing from the city. Okay,
Right.
you'd have to start looking at their sewer fees. You'd have to start looking at their water fees. You'd have to look at all of those fees that go, the kind of infrastructure bills that go into having a
Right.
campus of that size. It